Hi guys, it's David James from Business Growth Digital Marketing, and in today's show, I am graced with the presence of Alicia Glenn all the way from the US. She is an amazing marketer and she has so many versatile skills. I actually discovered her on Business Insider, where she published a contribution post that gave some very valuable marketing insights. But it's not just for big businesses. If you're a small business, or if you're a startup, or if you're thinking of pioneering growth in the near to medium or long-term future, then I really recommend that you listen to what she has to say because she's going to be dropping some valuable gems. So without any further ado, let me introduce you to the lady herself, Alicia Glenn. Welcome to the show.
Hey, David, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here and that we're finally able to make this happen.
Likewise. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you've been doing and a couple of the insights as to what you're going to share with us on the show today?
Yeah, so a little bit about me is um, I guess I have a big background in just like email marketing and online marketing.
Hmm.
I interned at Google when I was in college, and that was my first introduction into just online ads because I
Hmm.
was helping small and medium business owners with their AdWords accounts. And that was really interesting because we got full training from, Google employees about like how all that works.
Yep.
And then after graduation, I went on to work for Yelp for about a year and a half, cold calling small and medium business owners. So I keep on having this relationship with small and medium business owners.
Hmm.
And that was really great because it was very interesting to just talk with hundreds of business owners and just figure out what their needs are and what they're struggling with. And
Hmm.
we were pitching them the Yelp advertising product and how that could help them. So that was me working with on the sales side, cold calling, but also talking about digital ads and how that could benefit their business.
Yep.
And then after that, or during that period, I was really not feeling the whole cold calling thing. I wanted to work for myself, but I had no idea how to figure out how to make money starting my own business.
Hmm.
And I started following this guy. Some of you may know him. He's really big in the millennial space. His name is Daniel Di Piazza, and I worked with him on Rich 20 for like the past year and a half. That was a great experience. And then I decided to kind of branch off now, and I'm freelancing full time doing like email marketing
Hmm.
and copywriting for startups.
Well, that's fantastic. I've been in the digital marketing space for a while and marketing in general. And one of the things that I feel that's really important is the importance of copywriting. Uh, like I mentioned just before that I actually came across yourself just through your copywriting work, and the more I looked into what you'd been publishing, like the more I really valued what you had to share. Could you just
Oh,
share,
thank you.
yeah, could you just share a couple of insights as to why you think copywriting is important for any kind of marketing activities that you want to pursue?
Yeah, it's funny because I've just kind of been pushed unwillingly into this direction of copywriting because I never considered myself a good writer,
Hmm.
and I've never really felt super comfortable as a writer. But as I was applying to jobs online, I thought that I was going to be making more money with my software skills, but I kept on finding people who wanted software bundled with copywriting. So
Yeah,
can you write all of my email automations and set up the automate? Can you write the copy for the emails and set up the automation? And
yeah,
that's where I was finding where I was making the most money. So yeah, copywriting is super important. Is because that's just how you get people to buy your stuff. You need to be able to persuade them to take action, whatever you want that action to be. So I think learning like direct response copywriting and just I guess traditional copywriting is super important because it's communication and we're always going to be communicating with each other. And I don't know until our species decides that there's a more effective way
yeah,
to communicate. It would still be communication. So
yeah.
I think that's why copywriting is just so important is because in order for people to make a purchasing decision, they need to be convinced. And
Hmm.
you need to, whether it's video, you're writing a script for that. That's copy. So the writing is always going to be the basis of some sort of selling, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. Like I've done different types of like let's just say direct response sales. So I've done email marketing, I've done telesales, I've done like video infomercials. and like everything always tends to come back to the copy that's written and
Yeah.
knowing how to persuade and how to pitch. I think that's where a lot of people kind of fall flat because they're trying to jump onto the next software or they're trying to jump onto the next social media, the next big thing, the big shiny object, instead of
Yeah.
coming back to the basics, getting the basics right, and then leveraging those platforms. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's I that's I kind of find myself, like I was saying, kind of pulled in this direction of copywriting because this is to stay. It's not going anywhere. It's kind of like what you're saying. It's all these new things popping up, this new software. And I'm like, yeah, that stuff is all great, but you still need to communicate. Like there's certain staples that aren't going to go anywhere. So it's copywriting. For now, a lot of people may say we want to talk about like software things or what's really hot, Facebook ads is going to be around for a really long time. So you kind of pinpoint what are going to be kind of marketing things that are really just going to stay around for a while. Mm-hmm. Email, people are going to be using email still for a while.
Yeah.
People are going to need to communicate. Just written communication is not going anywhere. And then I would say Facebook ads, they're just a monstrous beast who keeps on just taking over everybody. Instagram, Snapchat, they're just like copying and killing everybody. So it's like Facebook ads are not going to be relevant for a while. So I think through freelancing or when you run a business where you're servicing people, you start to get you start to kind of see, okay, what's here to stay, what's the most valuable skills, and what are people looking for? And that's what I found to be pretty, sought after.
Yeah. Now, I just want to move on to the email marketing, which is where you've been specializing a bit more. And you mentioned to me before that you've really been helping out people who are in startups or they're in the position with their business where they want to grow. So what are some of the things that you've seen that really helps people with the email marketing?
Yeah, so a cool thing, because I brought some interesting, because I take a bunch of notes, and these are things that I refer to whenever I'm working with clients, because I think it helps, first of all, with my organization with them, systematizing things, that's super important, and also conveying the importance of like how effective email marketing is. I think people kind of just, think that are pretty frivolous with their email marketing, or they don't take it as seriously as they could be because they think, oh, I need to generate leads. But, converting your existing leads into superfans, into buyers, that's super important. And so interesting kind of, I guess, statistic out there is that companies using, emails to nurture leads generate 50% more sales ready leads at a 33% lower cost. So basically, it costs less to, I guess, get more leads and convert them if you're doing that via email. And that's like a stat from like HubSpot. HubSpot, if you guys don't read their blog as well, that's like a really good resource where I find a lot of good stuff. But yeah, I think a lot of companies don't know where to start when it comes to their email marketing. They do that first introductory or welcome series, and they don't know where to go from there. And basically what I do with companies is I'm telling them, okay, we need to get at least this basic thing, this introductory series written. And then how do we build on that? How do we take somebody from knowing nothing about you, just opting in, to becoming a super fan? And what does that actually look like? So that's pretty much what I do. And typically that's called like the customer journey roadmap. So those steps are like, okay, becoming aware, engaging with your product, subscribing, converting them, exciting them, ascending them into like an advocate or like a super fan. So you have to take them through each of those steps. And that's why email marketing is so important, because that's how you take your leads through each of those steps.
Yeah. Look, you touched on some excellent points. I just want to relate what you said back to like brand marketing. So I'm from a brand marketing background originally, and and back when brand marketing was done with above the line advertising, like TV, radio, whatever it might have been, you would trigger the awareness, and then you would get people to buy into your brand. But then to do that, you'd have to spend hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars,
Yeah.
And And I've seen with email marketing especially, you can do it with other forms of online marketing, but email marketing in particular, you can have that direct dialogue with the potential customer, and you can really create those super fans or those people that are really engaged with your brand to really become advocates and so passionate about your brand. And a great example is Apple, so
Yeah,
yeah, so like Apple fans are die-hard fans. I'm a die-hard Apple fan, so
me too.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, once you go Mac, you don't go back. So,
I know, even though I'm annoyed, I'm like, I bought this iPhone 7 and
yep.
it's inconveniencing my life even more because
Yeah.
I'm like that whole like charging thing. But,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
still love them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I just wanted to get your thoughts on uh, how you've been able to apply that kind of strategy with an email marketing strategy, like where people can see the benefit of turning people from like cold subscribers or just people who aren't familiar with your brand to
Mhm.
like a really enriched community that's prepared to like pay you and to advocate for you and to really like generate big business for you, for a low cost.
Yeah, so I guess you're saying, how do I get them to see that
Yeah,
value?
yeah, yeah.
Um, I think, well, I think I've been lucky because I think most of the companies that I found, because they usually know it's something they need. It's just depending on the extent. So they
Mm-hmm.
know they need email marketing, but maybe they don't know what it can do. They're like, okay, well, I know I can make money via email, but like, what's the extent of that? What does that even look like?
Yeah,
What can we do?
yeah,
So then usually when I come in, it's just kind of basically, I think what a lot of people do, and this is what I try to steer them away from, is that most new businesses or marketers focus on growing their email list
yeah,
first, and then they spend very little thought or effort on how they're going to make money from the email list once they have it.
mm-hmm.
I know so many influencers who have a huge email list and they're doing nothing with it.
Yeah,
And I'm like, there's really no point. So I think the first thing that most companies or businesses should do is determine how they're going to monetize a new lead or subscriber once
yeah,
they have it 1st.
mm-hmm.
So the first process you'd want to do is basically list out all the products you have. What can you possibly sell to your email list? And hopefully you should have more than one product just so you can be taking them through different funnels.
Yeah.
Yeah, for clients, this is what I'm doing for one of my new retainer clients now. Is I'm giving him a doc where it's like, all right, list out all the different products that you have,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can then do a promo calendar.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be like, I guess the step 2 is a promo calendar. You can do one for the year, or you do one for the year, but also do it into almost like semesters or quarters.
Yeah.
So for the next 3 months, are there holidays coming up? Are there events that's happening or things that it's going to be major for the company that you want to tell your email list about? Put those on the promo calendar so you know what spaces are taken up during that month. And then you just want to plan different promotions around that. So you'd be emailing your list regularly, but you want to be pitching your email list at least once a week. You can sell to your email list at least once a week. And I think that's what a lot of businesses get nervous about. It's like, all right, well, how often can I pitch them before they start hating me or not wanting to buy? But if your funnels are set up correctly and people are being segmented, there's always people going at different phases of your funnel. So you can be pitching them. You can run a quick flash promo to people who aren't going through a funnel right now. There's other people who are going through. You can do an engagement campaign. So for instance, you can be sending broadcast emails every week, but you have links where people click on that shows that they're engaged and they get sent off into a different campaign.
Yep.
So there's always ways you can be pitching your email list if you do it creatively and you utilize, automation and segmenting. And that's why the software that's available right now is so awesome, because there's just so much you can do.
Yeah. When I started doing email marketing, which was back in 2007, there was really only two. Yeah, I know.
OG.
Yeah. But then I went out of the industry for a while. But when I first started, there was really only like two major players where you could do some automation, and
Mhm.
now there's like the game is completely changed. So like in our campaigns, we use a combination of Mailchimp and ConvertKit. We
Oh,
are
okay.
familiar with Infusionsoft, but you were talking about other softwares that you use, which
Mhm.
have really advanced uh, uh, segmenting
Yeah.
capabilities. So if you could just talk us through uh, that software and how cost efficient it is, because I remember when we first started back in 2007, the software was quite expensive, and now,
Yeah.
yeah, compared to what you can get it for now, it's just absolutely amazing. So yeah, if you could just
Yeah.
talk
And
talk
I
us through.
was one of my favorites now that I recommend for most businesses fit in this category would be Activecampaign, just because a great analogy somebody had used is that it's basically Infusionsoft functionality from Mailchimp pricing. And when they're saying Infusionsoft functionality, obviously it doesn't have everything that Infusionsoft has because Infusionsoft literally does everything. And that's the good and bad part about it is it can be a little clunky. But Activecampaign gives you those most powerful features that people really need in Infusion. So like segmenting, doing the automation, tagging, they provide that in a very clean and easy to understand user interface
Hmm.
and for a much lower cost than what Infusionsoft charges. And I do really like Infusionsoft for people that have very large email lists and need to do complicated things with their email list. So um, for instance, I'm trying to think of a good example of like complicated stuff I've done recently with Infusionsoft. I might have to come back and think about it, but
Yep.
basically they allow you to do very complex stuff, and I would recommend it for like people with email list of like 50K above
Yep.
to use something like Infusionsoft.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So another thing I wanted to touch on was like trying to persuade, no, actually not persuade, like understanding the customer journey
Mhm.
and using email marketing to try to nurture the relationship towards the desired action that you want. So
Mhm.
you mentioned before that obviously there's people who are at different parts of the funnel. You know, you might get somebody who is ready to buy straight away, and you send them the first welcome email, and then they'll just buy from you. And you know, in an ideal world, that would be
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, but more often than not, there's going to be different filtering techniques to try to get people to go on different paths to get to the end goal. And just from my experience, one of the key things that I've noticed is knowing how to, well, pitch and communicate with the people correctly and
Mhm.
to try to get them to take the action that you want so you can either filter them into another group or filter them out. I just wanted to get you to talk about that from your experience, you know, just how important you feel that is.
Yeah, so I think it's super important. So I guess that would kind of tie into writing. So back to copywriting, getting people
Hmm.
to actually take that action. So not just having the automation set up, but how do you actually write copy that's compelling enough to have people self-select.
Hmm.
Um, so I think that's extremely important. And I think what a lot of businesses fail to do is there's just really a few factors you have to keep in mind. Just don't write boring copy. Just don't be boring. You don't have to be like overly funny, but just you could be interesting from whether interesting means funny, whether interesting means novelty, you're telling them something they've never heard before, or you're educating them through like facts. So those are a couple ways where you can actually not be boring is doing one of those three things.
Hmm.
And then also just remembering one of my favorite copywriters. I follow this guy for years, and I don't follow a lot of people, and not in a way to say like I don't need to read other people's things, but it's like I now that I was working with an email marketer, once you're in it, you don't need to read about it as much. But
Hmm.
I follow Neville Medora. He has a website called Copywriting Course.
Okay.
And one thing that he drives home is that people don't care about you; they care about them. And
Hmm.
literally, he will like repeat that in like capital letters in his books. Like, people don't care about you, they care about them. So meaning you don't need to be using I. Sorry, I know I keep on like being weird and doing this. I'm like trying to keep my headphones in.
No, that's fine.
These are like the bad, cheap airplane headphones. But yeah, I think one thing, there's an awesome, if basically a company that does this really, really well is if you have time, people who are watching this should check out Spotify's About Us page. When you read their About Us page, they're really not talking about Spotify. When you read it back, they're telling you all the things that Spotify can do for you.
Yeah.
And that's really how you should be talking to your customers all the time, because they really don't care about Spotify was founded in 2000 whatever, our founders are this, we have this awesome company culture. Like, no, who cares? It's like Spotify, we're the number one hub for you to find music. We can get you the latest tracks. It's clear, crisp, whatever, easy. Like, that's all we really care about, So, yeah.
Yeah, like it kind of ties back into the whole like basics around sales, and doing sales, just really understanding like who your audience is, what is it they want, what's in it for them, or the whip-in model, as we used to call it back in the UK. Another really interesting thing you said before was being able to communicate with a persona. So a lot of the campaigns that I run, I try to get people to do it with a personal persona. Yeah, it's just that we tend to get a lot better results with that. But you mentioned that you work with a company persona, which is great, and that's not something that we've been able to master. So if you could just talk us through about developing a company persona that can actually work, in email marketing campaigns and even online.
Yeah, I think I would say personal personas work best. That's ideal, but not everybody feels comfortable doing that, because if they're a startup, they may just want to talk as a startup. So I wouldn't say that I've mastered it, but I guess I've been forced to have to do it and test it for a bit, because that's what our clients feel comfortable in doing. And obviously you make recommendations for your clients, but a lot of companies now write as company personas, like Virgin, they write like that. So I think the way that I've been able to kind of do well at it and get my clients results is by mimicking what already works. And I think if this is the one thing that, is super important, is knowing how to problem solve. So if you're presented with something that you have no idea how to approach, just look at how other people are doing it. I think I'm guilty of this too. It's just when you're just starting out, or you just don't really understand how to solve certain problems, you kind of feel paralyzed. You're like, I don't know how to do this, when we have access to the internet. Somebody has figured it out. There's a guarantee that somebody has figured out this problem. So for instance, I'm working with a startup now, and they are a marketplace for vendors who provide services for people who are looking to throw parties and things like that. So I was like, this is interesting. I'm used to writing as a specific person, and now I have to write as this company. What does that actually look like? And I don't want to wing it, because you don't want to wing it, especially when clients might ask you, it's like, oh, why did you choose to approach it that way? You don't want to be like, oh, well, I think, it seemed right to me. It's like, no. So I'm like, I basically go and look at other startups that have great copy, and I mimic that. So I might go to Dropbox homepage and see what is that headline that they have. If Dropbox, Slack. So I think Slack has a very awesome, short, concise, headline or something on their front page. And other startups that aren't as known too, or other companies that aren't as known, I just check out their sites too, and just see, okay, I might opt into their lists and see how they're talking to their customers and things like that. Trello does a really good job too, but they respond as a person. So yeah, I basically just mimic what other startups are doing, and I think it will also make your clients feel comfortable if you can say, hey, these are strategies that companies like Dropbox and Slack are using, and they're proven to convert. And that's why I decided to implement a similar kind of funnel or a similar kind of campaign for your business, because you guys are in a similar niche.
Yeah. Now, there's another thing I want to talk about with you quickly. I've been talking with a lot of online marketers and SEOs in particular about nailing the unique value proposition, why people should care for you, or care for what it is you're about to offer. Now, in the SEO industry, a lot of people tend to take shortcuts because they don't want to work on the value proposition. So,
Yeah.
uh, like before, we were talking about you can use, let's say, the next social media trend. You can use the next type of software to try to get results. But if you don't have the basics right, it's not going to work. And like for me, when I'm doing SEO, a lot, probably about 50% of my time is spent doing some kind of email marketing strategy, and I know a lot of other
Yeah.
people do that as well. So, like I can have the perfect pitch, but if I have the perfect pitch and then somebody goes to the site and the site doesn't look any good, or it looks quite weak, or it doesn't have like good headlines or anything like that, then it's more than likely that I'm not going to be able to succeed with achieving my objective. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So my question to you is, how important is it for either the startup or the business or whoever you're representing to get their unique value proposition either right or in a strong position in order for you to achieve what you want to achieve for them?
Yeah, I would say it's extremely important. And sometimes that's something I would probably advise them on, because I think as marketers, you have to be very clear that, I'm not a magician. It's like it doesn't, there's a lot of different factors that go into you being able to convert a lead. Not just me, writing emails. If your landing page isn't concise, people are going to bounce.
Yeah.
Or if you're sending leads that aren't even relevant, no matter how dope of a funnel I write for you, the conversions are going to be low because you're getting the wrong leads. So I think the biggest thing for people to do is make sure you communicate up front with your clients and set the right expectations. And if they're letting them know that, hey, okay, I'm more than happy to give you feedback on your landing page or your homepage, because that will help me do my job better. We need to make sure that we're conveying the message right, so we're not also upsetting your subscribers, because if you're saying one thing on your homepage and then when they opt in, they're getting information or they're getting something that was not expected, then that's going to lead to unsubscribe, spam, or whatever. So I think companies, if they're looking to get their email marketing right, a lot of that that's communication for their business. That's a huge avenue of communication. So you have to have other things in place. So it's like, all right, I'm looking to hire somebody with my email marketing. That's typically a copywriter as well, who will help you with that. Have that copywriter help you with your landing page or homepage. So it's like all of that should be taken care of, because it's super important.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask was about the quality of the audience. Like when I started doing email marketing in 2007, it was very much about trying to get a massive, as many subscribers as possible. And KPIs were generally measured in like how many hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of new subscribers can you get each month. Yeah. Nowadays, like we just focus on quality and engagement. So we have much lower numbers. So we might get, say, like 10 to 20 or maybe 10 to 100 new subscribers, but we make sure that the quality of those subscribers is very high, so that they're very engaged, that we get very high open rates and like click-through rates. So normally our open rates are around 20 to 40% on average.
Okay, yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, but we have a much smaller audience, but we just focus on driving high quality. So, like, what's your approach? Because I know, like, it's not a one size fits all for everybody, but what are some of the approaches that you've seen that's worked for some of the types of clients that you've worked on?
Yeah, well, I think for everybody, it's not about a numbers game. So I think there's just a consensus across the board that it's no longer a game of volume. It is all about quality.
Yeah.
So I think like what I've just seen, and even when I was working with Rich Money Something, we cut down our list. We're like, all right, well, we have 130K people. We're going to cut this down even more. Because
exactly.
It hurts your deliverability. So it's also, it's not even just about the personal benefit for your company of just like having more engaged people and just cutting people who aren't engaged. It's really just about we've kind of been forced into having to focus on quality through other companies. It's like Google's not going to, want you sending to people if you're getting a lot of spam complaints. So,
Yeah.
If your deliverability is just going to be affected, you're not going to be able to reach the people who you really want to reach because your emails are going to be filtered out because they've been bouncing, they've been marked as spam, you've been getting a lot of unsubscribes. So at this point, it's just best practice to not email people if they're not engaged,
Yeah. That's something that we really agree with as well. And we just find that the types of customers that we get off the back of that tends to be much better as well. Have you noticed that as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to convert better. They're more engaged, and they're just like, it just makes you happier inside. People are reading your stuff.
The warm, fuzzy feeling. That's what it's all about. Look, Alicia, I want to thank you for being on the show. You've dropped some amazing, amazing gems. I just want to ask you lastly, where can everybody find and follow you?
Yeah, so I have my personal website, aliciaglenn.com. It hasn't been updated in a while, but you can check me out on also there, but also just hiringalicia.com. That's another website where you can see some of my freelance work that I've done. And if you're looking to get help with that, I also do that. And my Instagram, just I am Alicia Glenn.
All right, awesome. Well, you know where to find her, guys. I want to thank you again for being on the show, and make sure you follow her. All right. Thank you, Alicia.
All right. Thanks, David. This was awesome.